Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge. We are having all kinds of fun this morning dealing with StreamYard, all the internets. We love the internets. Also, this morning we have with us Script Doctor. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well today. How are you?
Hopefully everybody can hear us out there and everything's going well. I'm doing the best I can. We can't see the chat on our side, but we're doing the best we can here. I got it pulled up.
Well, we can. We just have to really MacGyver it and have like 3 separate windows open at the same time here. So, yeah, good times. Great start on the week.
And that, of course, is Andre. Good morning.
Garfield said Monday, isn't it?
Yeah, fuck Mondays. That's what Garfield said.
No, there was something.
And it has been a fucking Monday, I tell you what. On that part. So hopefully we're coming through loud and clear. It says Shum says we're buffering a bit. I hope not.
Yeah, I see loads of people are commenting on buffering, and I'm getting some kind of buffering myself here.
We shouldn't be. I'm green.
Bad audio. A number of people are seeing or hearing.
Lord Almighty. Lord. Good times, good times.
Yeah, and Bob A. No, it's not a matter of rebooting. There are far greater issues here than our
something's
local
going on right
rebooting.
Now.
There's something to do with the internet. There's something going on. Because we know that the Facebook server and the Instagram server is down. I don't want to be conspiratorial here, but there have been like some revelations about Facebook as of late that may or may not be connected to the downtime, and whatever it is, it's affecting our streaming software as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, hit the refresh if you can hear this clearly, because that will clear out the buffering aspect. And I don't know if it's a visual buffering or an audio buffering, but I'm assuming audio buffering.
I mean, it's coming through on my other end here. So it's got to be YouTube, because I'm getting plenty of green on my end. So, like, I haven't had
likewise.
No buffering issues. So hopefully it clears up here and you guys can hear us. We apologize. This will probably be a short show.
Probably. I think there's every reason to suggest and that we're probably going to be a little bit amputated today with skipping and buffering. So until then, all you can try to do is just try to refresh and see if that helps.
Yeah, we shouldn't be having. It's not my end anyway. I can tell that much.
Morgan King says audio is fine for me, but buffering is a thing. Well, as long as the audio is working, we don't have to do anything too challenging visually today.
I'm going to turn down the video settings. That might help a little bit too.
Yeah, try doing that. Like, we don't have to stream in 4K now.
Well, I'm not streaming in 4K. We're only in 1080p, but...
can we go down to 360?
I can't change that now. All I can do is change just certain things. Once we're set and we're out. Otherwise, I have to end the stream.
All right. Yeah, let's not do that.
Which I'd rather not do that, yeah.
Yeah, we'll soldier through. We haven't missed a single show for a year now since we started, so we're not going to begin now. So
and I changed the encoder to balanced. Maybe that'll help too.
Yeah, it'll be what it is. And Sailor Sonic, no, we're not going to end the show. We're going to stick here till the bitter end, and we'll see, of course, how long that is. But we have some things to talk about today. Outside of just the internet and the whole world going off the rails.
Yeah, people are still having issues. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this today. Motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to help. Filmlash, representing Denmark, says that refresh helps. But Deadeye says
doesn't
buffering
help.
Continues.
Yeah.
APM says unwatchable guys, sun catting out every 10 seconds.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now they're saying audio's buffering too. Pauses every 3 words. Brilliant.
Good times.
No, because I'm having 0 issues on my other end here as far as... Like
we have Valiant Renegade in the chat. Go check out his video on the Venom box office.
Yeah, I can't do anything more than I have. So.
Well, then let's. You know what we're gonna do? Then let's just chit chat a little bit and
See if it clears up.
see if it helps, see if it clears up. And anyone who is patient and wants to keep on refreshing and hear us chit chat about everything here and there are welcome to. And those that want to do something else, feel free. We're not holding you here. But we actually did get a couple of super chats that I obviously
let's try and read
bring
those
up on screen. But I can get them in the behind the scenes repository. Knock on wood before that disappears.
Right.
We have who says for $4.99. Hello, gents. Hello, everyone. And Darius Münchhausen sent us a popcorn super sticker. Yeah, you might want to hold on to that popcorn because you might need it for completely different things. And Hypergiver 2 said, finally got those purple and red dice.
See if it goes through. Alright, we're going to test this one more time, see if it works.
Can I use the same link? Or
yeah, it's all the same. It should still work under the same thing.
Okay. And it now says the...
let me see on my end here. I got a commercial.
Oh, well, that's something.
That's a plus.
Yeah.
Alright, it looks like we're working.
Oh, well, that's something. That's a plus.
Okay, we are back.
We are. Well,
sounds better. Okay, I put it down to 720p. Seems okay. Okay. Alright. Now it says we're on a loop. Okay, no lag. Good? Better. It's back. It's back. No skip. No skip. Okay, you guys can hear us? Okay. We'll try this for a while.
Well, yeah, excellent. Let's see if that works. While I can, I would like to welcome Darth Plato to Crum level. So welcome. There's going to be more Norse stories coming this week as soon as my voice clears up, and
might get
obviously when
you guys might get some echo, but that's because we don't have the echo cancellation, or we have none of that fancy stuff right now. I apologize. I'll do my best to mute as often as possible, but yeah. Turn my mic down a little bit. That might help. All right. So are we coming through loud and clear, guys? Otherwise,
yeah, you have to let us know in the chat.
Now some
Douglas
people are saying
Rickard says okay for him, and he's watching in
no change. Now you're working. It's really good. Carry on. Okay. It seems like we're working better for more people, so we'll try and keep this a pretty tight show. And it looks like Lindsay says we're working too. Natasha says we're good. Okay, so good morning, kids. How is everybody doing?
Well, I'm doing better now that everyone can hear us.
Meg said she's still getting a little bit of buffering. Try and refresh, guys, if worse comes to worse. Most of you are saying we're doing better, so we're going to keep... Some people are still getting the loop. Awesome. Hit refresh. Oh, Lord.
Mike says green light go. So now the audio is okay and sounds like normal. Well, if it sounds like normal, I think we'll have to settle for that.
All right. Some people are down at 140, really low. Okay, go. All right. People are saying, for the most part, we're getting a lot more. I'm good. We're good. So we're just going to keep going for now. As is.
Una Fonnes says he's had no buffer for a full minute. So yeah, that's promising.
That's a plus. And I've had zero anything on my end over here, so we're just going to keep on going then.
Yeah, this has been Midnight's Edge tech support.
Yes. And according to some, it sounds good and it sounds perfect. Yeah, 720p is all you guys are going to be able to get this morning, guys. Thank you, Todd Vanderis, if I'm saying that, or Vandersis.
Todd Vandersis.
Vandersis. There you go.
Yeah.
It sends a 99-cent popcorn, and that's perfect for this morning. It's a Monday, kids. Lord.
And then it's not just any Monday, because you have had plenty Mondays without servers collapsing left and right, which is what's happening right now. And anyone that don't believe us, just head on over to Messenger and tell your friends.
Yeah, so, we barely got we only got 200 and some people watching. So we'll probably keep this as a fairly quick show. Maybe we'll try and do something later. Who knows?
500, it says.
I only got 200. So something's really screwy on every end here. All right, well, let's break through these stories real quick. First of all, the box office is back, baby. I think I was kind of right when I said this 4 years to get things back to normal was just bullshit, and it all has to do with the matter of putting movies out that people want to see.
That's a pretty big deal. I actually have some numbers from Norway. And Norway, I think, might be an interesting example in this case, because you know what we did here last week? We ended absolutely all restrictions.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Like everything. Everything.
Well, I mean, you've got 3 major movies out there right now making money, even if you count Shang-Chi in that. But, yeah, I mean, Venom's box office this weekend is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. I mean, it made $10 million more than the original film did in its opening weekend during this shit, when stuff is still shut down all the time. So, again, all it takes is just movies that people want to see, right? I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
It's a tried, tested, and true formula. If you make something people want to see, they'll go see it. Come hell or high water in most cases.
I mean, was I the only one here on the panel so far that saw Venom this weekend? I know Andre couldn't.
Yeah, no, I would if I could. I mean, I've said for ages that this is actually the Marvel-themed movie I look more forward to than any other right now.
But you have seen Bond, which a lot of us in the U.S.
I have seen Bond.
And, now, Script, I don't think you've seen either of them yet.
No, not able to see either of them, and yeah, the way things are going in my province, it doesn't look like I'll be able to see any of them once they come out.
Well, that sucks.
Well, I just have to wait for streaming, so I'll be good there.
And Dune also crossed 100 million already this weekend.
So that's pretty impressive, considering that it's only in a handful of markets, and it's not in any huge markets. It's just like in like tertiary markets for some reason.
And then we've got Bond opening here this week. Then we've got Halloween opening the week after that. And then we've got Dune opening the week after that. And I think the one that's going to really suffer the most here is going to be Halloween, because I don't know why Jason Blum decided to do this. I don't know if you heard this, Andre, but he's the one.
Yeah, I heard that it's going straight to Peacock.
He's the one behind this, though.
Well, of course, you know why he's behind it. I would imagine that Universal gave like, hey, if you do this, here's the check we're going to cut you.
I don't know about that so much as he's blaming it on that Freaked movie or whatever, the one with Vince Vaughn, where he switched body with the cheerleaders because I guess it flopped on him.
So Freaky.
Or Freaky.
Oh,
that's
right.
What it was.
Yeah, the take on Freaky Friday with the serial killer.
Yeah, and well, they're like doing like a crossover with that, like they're crossing over Freaky with Happy Death Day, aren't they? For a third one or a fourth one, as it would be for the.
And that's the thing is, I can understand if he was doing it to a smaller movie, but he's taking Halloween, and he's basically sacrificing it up to the Peacock. I don't know about this movie.
Well, isn't he also doing something similar like that with The Exorcist?
All the horror movies are like going straight to streaming now, aren't they?
Pretty much,
Seems like it. But Halloween
even the Hellraiser remake, which either is close to finished filming or finished filming already, is going straight to Hulu.
Yeah, but the thing is this isn't one of those other franchises, right? Like, this is Halloween. This movie made so much fucking money in 2018. Like, I cannot believe they're making this move. Like, it really makes no sense to me. I feel like, unless this is... I just don't see this getting the people into Peacock they want.
Well, in order to fully examine how stupid that is, sending Halloween straight to Peacock, let's go through some of the numbers of these two movies that we have recent numbers for, namely Venom and Bond. And let's begin with Venom, since that one opened domestically, so most of the people watching right now will have had the chance to see it, and we have some pretty decent comparable box office numbers. And what they're saying here, and I want to highlight the phrasing of this because I'll get back to it later. A new pandemic era box office record, right? I'm saying that again. Pandemic era box office record. Because you have to do all of these hedges and jumping through all kinds of hoops to be able to create some kind of record. But now in the pandemic era, Let There Be Carnage has set a box office record, pulling in 90.1 million in its domestic opening weekend, compared to the original Venom, which made 80 million. So, now in the age of pandemic, Venom Let There Be Carnage outgrossed the opening of the original Venom. What are your thoughts on that? Script, let's hear from you.
I think it's a good sign, not just for the accessibility for theaters, but also for that particular brand on Sony's side of things. People want this. People really got to see the first Venom, then they probably got it on Blu-ray or digital, and over the course of like the last year and a half, they ended up getting a cult following, which is big enough to mount this opening weekend for the Sony Marvel hybrid film. I know that the ending of the film was like leaked online a few days ago, and that did not seem to impede its the audience from wanting to go check it out. So that's a really good sign. Yeah, that's about as much as I can really say for it. I expected Bond to do well for this opening internationally, but for Venom, I thought it would probably be on par with its first release. But the fact that it did a good 10 million more, that's a good sign for a lot, for the studio, for theaters. Yeah, it's way better than anything that's happened for Marvel solely alone so far.
Yeah, on that note, I'd like to point out, good thing that Bob Chapek already settled with Scarlett Johansson last week.
Well, I doubt he's the one that offered the settlement. I think that came from ScarJo's side of things when she realized that they're not going to get what they want.
Yeah. But like that whole argument that he had last week, that look, we actually helped or Black Widow by releasing it the way that we did. Yes. That argument was supported by Shang-Chi, but Venom would have punctured a hole in that argument if they hadn't settled as of last week.
Possibly. It might have compromised a little bit of it. At the same time, again, Venom is a bit more predominantly Sony operated, is my understanding, still at this point.
Yeah, it is. They are the distributor. But,
so yeah, like he could just say that, well, it's a Sony film, it's a Sony style. Sony, it's not exactly a Marvel brand. It caters to a slightly different audience that overlaps.
It's Spider-Man oriented as well.
It is, and it's also Spider-Man. Yeah,
and let's not forget, the first movie made a lot more money than people thought it was going to. It made almost $1 billion, and everybody was kind of surprised by that, considering it's a non-main hero film, right? Venom is normally a villain. Yes, he's technically an anti-hero, but we didn't know how this was going to roll. Like, nobody knew that this was going to be as big as it was. And then this one, now, I don't want to get into too much, but I don't know who's in too much control now. I will say that. But I will say that the movie is decent. There's some people who didn't like it, and I understand. I'm not as familiar with Carnage as I am with Venom. So when we get into it a little bit more, we'll talk a little bit about it. But I'm not surprised. What I was surprised by, though, was that it made more, right? I knew it was going to do well, but I couldn't believe it when I saw those box office numbers, and I'm like, holy shit.
I was thinking that, too. I'm blown away that it made 10 million more than the original. That was a summer release before any kind of pandemic, and it made 80 million, and that was a strong opening weekend for like a franchise starter like that. And for this then to given restrictions that are around the states, like it's going to be different from state to state, but still on a whole make 90 million. That's
and without a holiday too. And without a holiday weekend to bolster it either.
Yeah, that's it. And no summer season or anything. So I guess there must be a lot of pent-up demand. Plus, it probably was a movie that a lot of people had a lot of fun memories with. and we're very happy to get to go back and get more of.
Yeah, I'm
Because
willing to
no-
bet it
no-
did pretty well on video without even looking.
Yeah, because we have Shang-Chi in just a few weeks ago, and that didn't do nearly as well.
No, I mean it had the holiday weekend, so it did 94 on the 4-day, technically 5-day because of the Thursday previews.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 5-day weekend, whereas this one is like a regular 3-day plus Thursday previews.
Yeah, so it's basically on par with a 5-day Marvel film of slightly lesser known character, but still the brand of Marvel is still kind of really strong.
Well, and the other thing that people aren't talking about is, okay, Shang-Chi made another $7 million, I think it was, this weekend, but we had another movie open up. Addams Family 2 did modestly well. It made almost $20 million on top of. So you have two major movies that open, and the box office is almost basically back to what it usually would be, right? Like, we're close. I mean, we're not quite there yet, but, I mean, that's pretty damn good for two movies up against each other like that.
Yeah, I should say so.
And I highly doubt anybody expected Addams Family 2 to do and much better than that.
I didn't even know Addams Family 2 was out.
Yeah, it's the animated
same as
MGM
well.
one, yeah.
What was the first one any good?
I have it, and I haven't watched it. But I haven't heard, and considering I haven't heard a bunch of people bitching about it, I'm assuming it was mostly harmless. So,
that seems like a pretty decent review. And honestly, in this day and age where everything is being deconstructed, mostly harmless is practically like a badge that you can wear around. That wasn't always the case, but it's a sad state of affairs when that's as good as you can hope for mostly harmless.
And Boba Fett, I guess I didn't even know this. Addams Family 2 was also available day and date. So considering that still made almost $20 million day and date, hey, that's not bad.
Oh, that's pretty impressive.
For an animated kids movie, yeah. Or family film, however you want to put it.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Well, that's what kind of upset me is my local theater decided to get Addams Family instead of Venom. So I was like, are you kidding me?
Well, how far did you have to go to see
An
that
hour.
one? Was it worth it?
Well, if you want to get into that,
Yeah, sure.
I enjoyed
Let's
it.
hear your thoughts on the movie, because again, I won't be able to see it for a month and a half, which is pretty annoying. But yeah, well, I got to see Dune a month ago, so I guess I shouldn't be complaining too loud. But I just think it's like ridiculous that we now suddenly have these unbelievably staggered releases again.
Sorry, I had my mouth full of food there.
No, go for it.
But no, I was surprised how many people were at the theater. It was a little rural theater. They only had 3 screens, and nobody else was in the other 2 movies, which were Shang-Chi and Fall Guy. And for the most part, the room was almost packed. There was a little space between us all because we had to or whatever, but I mean, considering it was their biggest auditorium and it probably seated, I'd say probably somewhere between 90 and 120 people in that range. It was 2/3 of the way, if not almost more than that, full. Like, I think we were pretty close to capacity, it seemed like. It was nice to get out and go see a movie in the theater. That was a plus. The movie was short. It wasn't overly long. It's pretty straight to the point. If you enjoyed the first film, you'll enjoy this one. Or Free Guy, not Fall Guy. Did I say Fall Guy? I meant Free Guy.
Okay,
I always keep saying Fall Guy because of that fucking TV show. Anyway, yeah, I mean, again, like I said up front here, I'm not as familiar with Carnage as I am with Venom, right?
I'm very familiar with him, so like, I'm the one that should have been seeing that movie.
I know, right? But I will say this, without getting into the spoiler aspects of things or anything like that. This movie was clearly shot for PG-13, unlike the first movie. The stuff that's going on in the media with the whole like Venom's gay stuff is being extremely overplayed, and I think it's doing the film a bit of a disservice, because a lot of what I think Andy was getting at is just kind of the dynamics between Venom and Tom Hardy. And there is one scene that can be construed in a way, but it's kind of funny how it plays out, so I don't want to like ruin it for everybody. But this movie is much funnier than the first one, but not to its detriment in any way. It's not like that Marvel goofy kind of funny, really. It's more situational comedy. Venom looks a lot better than he did in the first movie. Like, the CGI is at least 10 times better than it was in the first movie, in my opinion. They got rid of all the shiny shit. That helped. Carnage looked cool. Woody Harrelson was cool. My only part that I didn't like about that was, for some reason in the beginning when they show us flashback, look, Woody Harrelson has looked the same for 50 years. He has not aged. Okay, and we get it. They're trying to make it like, because that's the thing, is he's only playing like a 30-year-old or 30-something-year-old or whatever in the movie.
Well, he's supposed to be a 30-year-old?
Something like that, because they flash back to like when he's younger, and they have him doing the voice, but they have somebody who looks nothing like Woody Harrelson playing him as a kid.
And in this age of deep faking,
exactly. And my point is Woody Harrelson looks the same as he did in 1986. He has not aged a bit. The only difference
he's gained a little bit of weight, but he looks the same.
Not as curly a hair. Outside of that, he looks the same. All you had to do, like, you didn't even have to deep fake it, Andre. All you got to do is just give him a little makeup, and he looks younger. Like, you didn't have to do anything. That was my only real big complaint, was like, why did they do that? Because it was a little off-putting. Other than that, I thought the story was tight. There was no, like, it's not like a world-ending story like most of these Marvel movies are, right? So, like, that part of it was great.
Yeah, that's like a refresh, that it's not fighting the end of the world or some world-ending thing. It's a little bit more local stuff, right?
Pretty much. And again, like, I don't know how... I know in the comics that Venom basically is Carnage's parent. And they kind of have that here, but I don't know if it happens the same in the comic or the book. So, again, without me getting into actual spoilers, I can't really get into too many specifics of things that I liked or disliked. But overall, if you enjoyed the first movie, I have a feeling you'll like this one. So, there you go.
Sweet, I'm looking forward to them, because I had loads of fun with the first one, for all its flaws.
It's not nearly as violent as the first one, I would say, though. But there are some deaths. But
because I did like... do we get like any heads bitten off? Because that was one of the highlights.
Only off screen.
Oh.
Like I said, you can tell this one was shot for PG-13.
Oh. That's so disappointing. And that is something that... Yeah, that's only pathetic. It's like so frustrating to like watch like a movie abroad, and you're like, when you know that this was completely ruined for everyone in the world because of the intricacies of the American PG-13 rating.
Like, I mean, honestly, I would say there's probably more deaths in this one than there was in the first one. But like I said, a lot of it's off screen. They don't show any blood hardly at all. Like, even one part, like one of the, and not to give too much away, one of the people that gets their heads bit off, like before you even see the body, it's already covered up, just like a blanket falls on it or whatever from like off screen. Like, so it's really kind of like, you can tell it was clearly shot for PG-13.
That is pretty pathetic too. That's like the issue with it. It's really pathetic when they do that, and to me, it actually does make a movie worse when it's such obviously forced PG-13. At least that's my view on the matter. So yeah.
Sorry, Sadie just pulled my whole entire wire right out of my thing, because I don't have enough crap going on today. I didn't hear a damn thing you guys said for the last 2 minutes.
Okay.
Or last minute or whatever it was here after I got done talking.
Oh, that's all right. So script.
Yes.
What Tom is saying here, does that sound surprising, or is that pretty much what we were expecting? So basically, the studio, they completely lied then when they said they were considering making a Venom and rated R movie.
The first one, I don't think they were lying about. This one, I'm sure they were.
No, but they said it about this one too.
Then they were lying their ass off.
Yeah, probably. I mean, again, a PG-13 rating opens up your audience to a broader spectrum of people, which is ideal. Um, I mean, for me, as a screenwriter and also as an audience member, I don't care about the rating as long as the story is the best it can be. Violence means very little to someone like me. I don't need to see a head being lopped off in order to be entertained. The human imagination is far more better weaponized for storytelling than to just show obvious
Yeah, I
gore.
agree. They did that really well in Daredevil when the Kingpin and was annoyed
With
with
that
the
guy
guy
and use the car door
yeah
to sever his head.
who
Yeah.
disrupted him during his date.
Hmm.
That was a decapitation that wasn't shown on the screen, and I liked how they did it there
Yeah,
because
there's
there they used the
directing.
imagination, and that was done even worse. So it was like even more brutal because of it.
Exactly, and you can do a lot with a PG-13 rating to convey that.
You
It comes
can,
down
but
to the
somehow I
directing, the
kind of doubt
cinematographer.
that
Yeah.
from what Tom says, it doesn't sound like they did that here.
No, I don't think they would. I think they just copped out to the low-hanging fruit sort of method of PG-13 directing for a violent action film.
Yes and no. I mean, it's again, if you take away the fact that there's no blood and you don't see the heads bitten off, it is still a pretty violent movie overall.
The movie has carnage in the title. And
Yeah, I mean, and
There's
they
no
don't
blood?
really tame down. Well, there's blood, but it's not in the sense that it's not.
Is it like Black Widow blood, which is just sweat on the body?
like they don't show it in any of the actual violent acts, right? Like
is it Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo blood?
it's there's some here and there maybe where it's like ancillary from whatever, but it's never like specific on screen. They don't ever show the actual violence. There's a lot of indications, and I mean they set up Carnage as like he's clearly this. He is, I think that part they didn't change, like who he is, what he is. They hinted a lot of what he's done, and they hinted a lot of what he is. You know,
There's been an awful lot of hinting, it sounds like.
I mean, it's kind of told, and it's hard to explain without actually seeing it and giving away too much. Like, but a lot of his backstory and stuff is told through like animations and shit. Because, like, okay, like there's this one part where Venom figures out right away something about him, but you know, of course, Tom Hardy's character ain't listening, so Venom's like, I know, and he's like, so he makes him draw all this shit and. So, like, through these drawings, he figures out something about him, and then, like, so they tell, like, a little backstory through similar drawings. Like, it's not a bad film. That's the thing, is I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. I had a lot of laughs. It was action-oriented enough. I know some people said it was boring. I don't know about the boring part. I don't know where they're getting the boring thing, because it clips.
I haven't read all reviews I've read suggest that it's a 90-minute movie that's full balls to the walls.
Yeah,
from
it clips
beginning to
along
end.
pretty well. I mean... It doesn't really waste any time. It gets right into the movie. I mean, it doesn't waste a bunch of time trying to re-explain the first film or any of that kind of nonsense. And it's been a little bit since I've seen the first movie, but I'm pretty sure it picks up fairly, you know, not right away, but close to where the last movie left off, you know? I don't know where people are saying it's boring, but I have heard a few people say it was boring. But I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean, it's plenty of action. There's plenty of sequences. There's a lot going on. It doesn't take long. I mean, Carnage probably shows up about half hour in, maybe-ish. Maybe a little more at the most. But once he's there, he's there, right? Like, that's pretty much the third act, is just kind of like building up who he is and how he came to be, and then boom, the fight is kind of it. You know, it's like... The other parts of the movie are just Tom Hardy's character and Venom just kind of dealing with living with each other. So that's where I get where, you know, Andy Serkis is saying, you know, it's about like a gay couple kind of thing. Because they do have that dynamic, but there's no sexual intent there, right? Like it's very much making fun of a couple bickering, right? Like that is what I got out of it. You have a lot of that dynamic. It's very much like an Odd Couple / kind of thing, but they have... Without getting into too much of it, they do kind of have like a breakup scene even. But it's kind of funny. That's the thing. The way it's done in a way for laughs more than it is like, oh, we're doing this progressive thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying there. I mean,
like, there's no like
Venom can't separate from Eddie Brock without risk killing Eddie Brock, though.
well,
or is that not established in the
not in
this
that
version?
sense. It's more so like he needs Eddie more than Eddie needs him. Is the way they set this up. Without getting into too many spoilers. I mean, that aspect of it, like, no, they have no problem
that was
separating.
set up in the previous movie as well. That the symbiote, he needs someone that's like a good genetic match, where the donor isn't going to go, or like the host isn't going to go die on him. And he even said like a match like this is really rare to come by.
See, and that's the thing they play.
He's a parasite. He needs everything to survive. Whereas Eddie, well, he was doing fine for his life for the most part without Venom. So yeah,
and that's kind of what it is. It's more so like Venom needs him more than he needs Venom, kind of thing. And it's more Venom coming to terms with that. At the same time, Eddie can't do shit without Venom, as far as like, saving the day, being a hero, kind of, all that kind of stuff. So it's like them just kind of dealing with that aspect of their relationship. And I mean, they do kind of go out of their way, the famous RLM saying, they do whatever they can when you have like a strong male lead and there's no romantic storyline, but they do whatever they can to make sure that that the character doesn't have a case of the gays. You guys know what I'm getting at if you've watched any Red Letter Media reviews?
I have. It's just been a while since they've had to bring that up.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in years, to be honest.
Okay, well, whenever there's like they're watching, especially when they're watching any of the B movies, and then you got like some strong male lead, and there's no like romantic storyline whatsoever in it, they always have at least one scene where you show that they have a girlfriend or something, or that they're interested in women, so that you know they don't have a case of the gays, right?
All right, yeah.
Like, this movie has almost that opposite problem. Like, they don't go out of their way to try and make Eddie non-sexual entity, but they're definitely don't go out of their way to make him not have a case of the gays. Like, he's still hung up on Michelle Williams' character. That part is still there. But outside of that, he has zero romance in this movie whatsoever. Like, it's pretty much... There's no... All the relationship stuff has mainly to do with him and Venom, and she's just kind of there. Like, I mean, she does play certain parts into the movie, and that's probably one of my only other complaints, is how she's kind of utilized in the movie compared to the first film, I guess. I don't know. I mean, she does have one major point where she plays in it, but it almost feels like they're bringing her along just because they have to. Does that make sense? Like, they almost should have just wrote her out of the movie. I'm not saying it would have helped, but it just was like, she was just there, and then she just kind of plays parts in
we actually got a question from Deranged Lunatic, aka DL, who wonders, does Tom Hardy and Venom have a major love scene?
No.
Oh gosh.
No. And Neil says for $5 from the Good Bad Flicks YouTube channel, made a great point about the PG-13 and the R rating. The problem is when PG-13 holds back R to where it is watered down. It sucks.
I didn't get a lot of that feeling
I agree with that.
as much with the movie as I did just that it's mainly they're trying to avoid the head biting. Right? Like, that seemed to be the big thing they were trying to avoid.
That's so pathetic, and that was like one of the coolest parts of the previous one.
Well, I'm sure that's why they got stuck in the situation they did with the first movie, to where, even though the director claims it was shot for PG-13, he's full of shit. And you can tell the way it's edited, that they had to edit around all that stuff all the time. So it was like, this movie you can tell it was shot so they didn't have to edit around it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more, even though it's noticeable, it's not as bad. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
And the Deranged Lunatic, aka DL, also says a pile of poop with a face for $1.99.
That's the emoji, yeah.
Emoji,
that's a pooper sticker.
Yeah.
And Stephen Otten says, Michelle Williams could have been cut out of the movie and it wouldn't have mattered. Pretty much. Like, honestly, for the most part, she doesn't really do anything. She's just there. It's kind of, I don't know. She gets sucked up in the story because she has to.
Yeah, so she's there because she has to be. Well, you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like she probably had a bigger pot and they deleted scenes and they deleted the best ones, but they couldn't get rid of her completely. That's what it sounds like to me.
I didn't even get that feeling, really. It just this movie felt like. I don't feel like there's probably a bunch on the cutting room floor. I really don't. It feels pretty tight. It feels like they got to say everything they wanted to say in it. As far as Andy Serkis's direction, Mike Cat asks, it's competent. I mean, if you would have told, if I wouldn't even have known he was directing it, I wouldn't have noticed on that part. I mean, he doesn't even have a cameo or nothing like that, from my recollection. So,
well, but good on him. Good on him for expanding his range. I mean, he also directed the Jungle Book remake, not the Disney one, but the Warner one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has that been released yet, by the way?
Oh yeah, they put that on Netflix a long time ago.
All right. Was it any good?
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, no, neither did anyone else.
I was just upset because he was supposed to be doing using some really cool 3D technology and stuff for it, and it never got a 3D release because it went straight to Netflix.
Yeah. And DW wonders, could it be a contractual obligation? Probably in reference to Williams. And no, it couldn't, because the contracts don't work that way.
No.
Script, I'm sure you can say something to that effect. That no actor or actress is actually required to be in a movie.
That is true. I mean, they're given an offer, and they can either reject it or agree to it. So it's up to their own issues, unless if they sign like a multi-picture contract and there's some sort of clause, which is rarely the case, where if they decide to leave the project, they end up having to forfeit certain amounts of money or deals. I have heard of those stipulations, but I've never seen them actually put in play. You can just walk away from a film without any real repercussions, so long as you don't do it within the middle of shooting.
Well, those are, as we usually point out, those contracts are generally to protect the studio more so than they're to do anything for the actor. Like, it's more so like you just said. It's like, yeah, they don't have to use you in a sequel. But if they want to use you in a sequel, and you're basically contractually obligated to be there.
Exactly.
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other part, too, is that you still get paid, and if they decide not to use any of the footage you shot, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. And that's similar to, like, a situation, or also you have, like, the only time I can think where there is a contractual obligation where it came into play offhand that sticks out was when Billy D. Williams for Batman Forever. Because he got paid because he was contractually obligated to be there, but the studio and the director didn't want to use him, so they still had to pay him even though he wasn't in the fucking movie. So, yeah.
Yeah, the other part, too, is Billy D. Williams was thought he was going to be in Batman Returns, and that's when they ended up renegotiating for the third one, because everything changed with the response to Batman Returns. He still got his payout, which I think was only like 30% less than what he was initially going to get for the film.
Yeah, and I think Jack even got his money for part 3 too, if I'm not mistaken, because he was supposed to be in it, and they put him out. But I'm not sure on that one. But I do know that, Billy D got his money, and that was what it was for then. Okay.
I wish we saw Billy D as Two-Face. That would have been fantastic.
That would have been sweet. But yeah, the path not taken.
Mm-hmm.
And just going to go through a couple of other super chats relating to Venom. Dash Attack says, Woody Harrelson stole the frickin' show. Great bad guy who doesn't give an F. R-rated cut when. Also, end credits was a real shift in reality. Wink, wink.
Yeah, I can almost do the I knew it.
Yeah. And yeah, we've been hinting at it for some time already. So, and also on that note, in reference to that shift in reality, Nikki D says for $5, Spider-Man No Way Home looks to have a monster opening based on Venom's current box office gross. If true, who would benefit more financially, Sony or Marvel? Well, actually, for that movie, for the Spider-Man movie, it would be Sony that would benefit the most, because I do believe that they have a 75% stake in it, while Marvel have a 25% stake. So Sony will benefit more from it. But probably it's going to lead straight into Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and that's all Marvel. So yeah, they found ways to make sure that there will be plenty cash to go around from Spider-Man there. And then Commandant VHS says, I'll never subscribe to Peacock. So yeah, that's where you'll be seeing Halloween. But before we get into Halloween, there's some more movie news and box office than just Venom. As we covered already, Dune has already hit $100 million on the very few markets that it has been released in, and none of these are major markets, so that's actually very promising. But then there is James Bond. And James Bond was released in the UK and select other markets this week, among them Norway, which is why I've seen it already. And we now have the opening weekend numbers from the UK. And you will, of course, know that the UK is Bond's home territory. And just for comparison, Skyfall, the only Bond movie to gross more than $1 million, made
$1 billion, you mean?
Sorry, billion, yeah, $1 billion. Skyfall made 20.2 million pounds sterling in its opening weekend in the UK. Now, No Time to Die has made 21 million pounds sterling in its opening weekend, just this weekend right here. So it actually outgrossed Skyfall. In the middle of the pandemic and everything, No Time to Die outgrossed Skyfall. That's not the only place, because in Norway, and I did check the numbers. Actually, I didn't have to check because they were making headlines here. Last week, Norway ended absolutely all restrictions. Country is completely reopened. So maybe it would have happened anyway. I don't think so, but because then the cinemas couldn't operate at capacity. But No Time to Die is also the biggest opening weekend in Norway for any Bond movie ever. So just based on those two, it looks like No Time to Die is going to be a huge hit.
Well, it's definitely going to have some legs for a while. That's going to be great.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how the legs are going to be. But it certainly opens huge. The legs, I think it's too early to tell on, but the opening is massive.
Somebody want to say that theaters are dead again?
Yeah, I will be saying anything of the sort. Let's put it that way.
Well, yeah, the alternative to them is not large enough at this moment to really do anything of that nature.
On the contrary, when you had like Jason Killard come out and say, yeah, that whole HBO Max strategy may have been a mistake. In light of that, then yeah, that's probably not big enough. And honestly, there's one thing that I never fully understood with like this rush to get things to streaming. Because streaming is like the one distribution model where the studio, provided that they themselves own a streaming platform, have complete control over the entire value chain.
Yeah.
But that means that there's no third parties there to feed them that extra money. And in terms of what was most profitable, that was physical DVD sales.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a hell of a lot of streaming households to make up for one lost DVD sale on average.
You know what's funny is
or at least for a movie.
I heard a rumor about Killard, about why he almost left a couple of weeks ago, or almost 2 months ago now, or whatever it was.
Oh, do share.
The rumor I heard is the reason why he was ready to walk is he felt like he was not getting any support for what he was doing. He was doing what he was told to do, but then he was basically getting lambasted by everybody.
For doing what he was supposed to do.
Exactly. So, you may not be wrong that he might come out and say something like that, Andre. That wouldn't surprise me. Just you saying that reminded me, because somebody had said something about that was why he threatened to walk. was because he felt like he was getting no support whatsoever.
So his feelings were hurt for the fact that he's firing people.
Well, actually, that's actually very understandable, because if you are hired to do a job, and then you expect to have the company behind him, of course, then the question is, who in the company? Is the board and the people hiring him, are they still behind him? Because the people that he's firing, he could never expect them to be behind him. He could never expect them to be like, oh, yes, we are fully behind the man who's going to completely reshape the company for a new and better future, a future that doesn't have us in it. Those people, of course, are gonna be resisting at every single turn.
Yeah, and not only that, once we get the finalization between the Warner Brothers and Discovery merger, we don't know what sort of changes are going to happen on top of what has already been done. So it's all just seems kind of like a social engineering experiment at this point. Like Warner Brothers will clean house with whom they think is not useful to the company, and then Discovery will come in, and all of a sudden there'll be another form of restructuring and cleaning house all over again. And is what Killar doing saving time for Discovery, or Discovery have to hire back certain people that Killar let go? And what will that do to the shape of the merged company? It's all kind of up in the air, so to speak.
I think between maybe some of that things and just the fact that they were getting so much crap from the talent, and I'm sure a lot of producers weren't too happy. I mean, we know publicly Legendary was very unhappy. So I'm sure there was a lot of people that were giving him a lot of bullshit. You know, like, you're ruining my movie, you're ruining the studio, you're doing this, you're doing that, when he was really doing what he was supposed to be doing. So, again, like, of all the things he did, the only thing that I could see that might be one thing that he could say, yeah, we made a mistake on, is this day and date for the entire schedule, because it should have ended. He should have been smart enough to now say, look, things are back to normal, there's no reason for us to release Dune day and date on HBO Max, but now they're tied to it. It's too late. They can't get out of it, probably. I mean, I think that they would have by now. They probably would have changed it, but I think the damage is already too far done.
Yeah, and it was an old experiment, and it's an experiment that showed what should have been blatantly obvious to everyone. In streaming, you really, really have to be the king of the hill in order for there to be money in it. And if you're not, there isn't. Then you're probably going to have to go to the one where you are the king of the hill. And even then, you'd be better off with DVD sales, if there were any.
Well, the other part, too, is you also have to have the infrastructure to hit as many people as possible. And sadly, the United States has terrible internet.
Right.
So,
speaking of, what we're dealing with this morning, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, like, for instance, in Canada, streaming is actually rather popular because we have a really solid internet structure. But at the same time, people also like to go out for things. So theaters are very valuable. And to your point, Andre, earlier with regards to DVD and Blu-ray sales, that is basically like free money because, again, the studios or the distribution centers sell to the retailers, so they already get their money whether or not the retailers sell the product or not. So it's really, really to their advantage where they can get a lump sum right off the bat, and then the retailers are required for getting that into the customers' hands, and then they have to mark those down every so many weeks if they don't sell, and if they end up, and they usually don't have a credit buyback system for that type of physical media, which means that they can't make a request to send it back to the distributor if they're not selling well, because the distributor has in their contract, no, you bought these, you own them. Put them on a discount shelf, you're out of luck, and that's always been a good benefit to the studios.
I will never know why they were in such a rush to kill that golden goose.
I think they thought the overhead was too high in comparison to streaming, but not realizing how expensive streaming actually is to maintain.
Yeah, and they're short-sighted, and they didn't stop to think of how much cheaper discs were to produce than VHSs were back in the day, and Laserdisc in comparison. They weren't thinking about, the fact that you guys just said the infrastructure ain't set up yet. They were also not thinking about the one other side of things that I always bring up, and that is they were using Netflix as a model, right? Like, they were like, oh, look at all this money we're making from Netflix, without stopping to think of how much money Netflix was putting out, right? That's where I
Yes.
think they were short-sighted. Is they were like, well, we got to have one of these. We can just do it ourselves. It's like
Yeah,
without
they all thought that they could all be Netflix. Didn't realize that Netflix is Netflix. And
Yeah,
because of
exactly.
all of those, Netflix isn't even Netflix anymore.
Well, the biggest part is the fact that they took the exact model of Netflix as opposed to taking the model and saying, okay, how does this work for Netflix? Does it actually pay off? And then adjusting it accordingly to the output that a studio could do on its own while still keeping its head above water. Because Netflix is not. It's got a massive amount of debt, debt that it's able to use to its advantage for tax purposes. But for a studio to adopt that exact type of model with that risk of debt is not going to be beneficial to the studio, because eventually they're either going to have to restructure, which is going to cost them a lot more money, and then spend a lot more years paying off that debt with, other sacrifices being needed to
Right.
be made to other ventures within the studio.
No, and that's the thing is they were asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, why don't we have a Netflix? They should have been asking, basically,
Can we make something better than Netflix?
yeah. And not only that, they should be. Well, here's the other reason why they didn't probably ask this question is more so they should have been like worried about killing cable, the cable movie channels. Like there's no money in them anymore. And of course, unfortunately, HBO being one of the major ones is the only one that's probably really making any major money. They don't even realize how they're shooting themselves in the foot with this whole thing, not just the video side of things, but if anything, they should have said, look, cable's dead. We're done. Streaming is the new cable, and that's the way they should have treated it. It shouldn't have been this day and date shit. It should have just been like, this is where you're exclusively going to be able to find these movies now once they normally would hit cable and streaming, right? You're not going to find it on Netflix. You're not going to find it on Showtime or HBO. You're going to find it on HBO Max, or you're going to find it on the Peacock, or you're going to find it on whatever. And that part I don't think people would have so much of a problem with, right? Like, they're used to that. They're used to the model of go to see it in the theater. If you don't see it in the theater, you get it on video. And if you don't get it on video, then eventually it will be on HBO and all that kind of shit.
Well, it's like the network problem.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to watch Friends, you'd tune into NBC, and that's how you do it. And that's what streaming is going to become eventually. Like all the streaming platforms are going to be the television networks of the 21st century. You're going to have a handful of them. They're going to be competing for your time and money, but you're not going to have the luxury of essentially in the early days, all you had to do is buy a TV, set up your antenna, and you just watched television. Like at this point, it's now you got monthly bills for various streaming services until there's some sort of like streaming affiliate that can pick and choose various shows that they're going to have on their streamer, like we have up here in Canada called Crave.
Yeah.
They borrow from all sorts of different streaming platforms. They put it all together, and you can watch a majority of things for a flat rate. That's probably going to be the future model that other countries will adopt once they get the infrastructure for streaming to be a plausible and affordable alternative for everybody.
Yeah. And it seems like the chat is now working on our side. And yes, Professor M.
Yeah, it suddenly came
Facebook
back. Whoa,
is
that's
down,
amazing.
but our chat is back up.
Well,
So
then
I'm curious.
Then I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook were to come back soon as well here, and WhatsApp and
Yeah, because I'm
all
not
those,
ignoring
things.
anybody who's talking to me on Facebook. I see Six is wondering. Yeah, that's why I'm not ignoring you. Not at all. I wonder if we shouldn't try to stream through the other way.
I think we got a good thing going at
Yeah, I
the
was
moment.
gonna say at this
No,
point,
let's
just
not
say
change
fuck
what
it.
works.
Yeah, but
Let's
all
not
right.
change what works.
Because I think we're pretty well through most of the major
I'm
shit
just
anyway.
gonna do
so,
a check here. Hey, getting it comments up on screen.
Awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, then I see no reason to change anything. But since we have it on the screen, Erik Runge Madsen says for 100 Danish krona, Dan Bilzerian, the Ignite Fool, invested 1 million in Lone Survivor for 8 minutes of screen time. But his role was later reduced to less than 1 minute and just one line. He tried to sue later.
Not much.
Okay. That
Yeah,
sucks
I'm not
for him.
familiar with this
Not
story.
much you
I
can
should
really
check
do
this
with
out.
that. I mean,
No, yeah.
unless it's in your contract, yeah.
Yeah. I remember we have like a really high-profile Norwegian actor too, and he was supposed to have a huge role in that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. What was it called again? The one where he was like mauled by a bear.
Oh, I know it. Yes,
one I
I know what
hated,
movie you're talking
yeah,
about.
I can't-
The word that's like it's like a synonym for almost dying. The Revenant.
The Revenant,
Revenant,
yeah.
Yeah.
It also had Tom Hardy in it, I think.
Yeah, that also had Tom
Yeah, it
Hardy.
did.
Actually, that's true. Anyway, but it didn't have this guy apart from like 1 second because he was there filming for 7 months. They cut out everything. So yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
That,
Ego
that
dreamers.
That he invested $1 million. That doesn't guarantee that he gets any screen time. So yeah, that's a tough break.
Yeah, Ego Dreamer's right here. Let me see if I can bring up the comment. Too bad Twitter isn't down, he said. I can't find it now. But anyhow, I thought that was pretty funny. Brian Barth wonders what happens if they bring back VHS. They won't. It's got its little like niche market right now, but it's
easier to store safely VHS for non-biodegradation than DVD.
To a point, but it's such a piss poor.
Well, you're very limited to the magnetic tape output quality,
it's
which
very piss poor. Outside of just like people for like retro bullshit, no, because even records, at least I can understand, because records actually have some sort of audio value to them outside of just looking cool, right?
Yeah.
Like if you get a classic analog master on record, it can sound better than some CD masters depending on who did it. But that again is all on preference side of things. There's nothing you can tell me about VHS in any way, shape, or form that you're gonna get me to believe or agree with you on, because it's just not.
Other than
I will say one thing:
better.
box art.
What's that?
Box art.
Well, box art, yeah, but I mean, even a DVD and Blu-ray box art is the same size. It's just the choice of what they use.
Yeah, I know. It's the art itself.
Yeah, the art itself, again.
And just to answer one question, Andrew wonders, it was down in reference to our being elated about the chat. You wouldn't seen this. But basically what happened as we started streaming here is that there was a huge tech issue with StreamYards, the platform that we use. So we were 20 minutes late. And this time the reason actually was pure technical reasons, because we had to reroute the stream through another provider in order to get this thing working. And then we didn't have access to the chat behind the scenes here. So we were basically streaming, holding everything together with glue and strings behind the scenes. And then suddenly the chat came back, which is why we are now highlighting comments. We couldn't do that before.
That's all we can do. That's
our interface was gone.
And nobody wants me to hit any more buttons, so. I was going to try and go live at the same time and see what happened, but I don't want to fuck everything up. Oh, shit.
But we did get a couple of other super chats here that we can catch up on. I think we got.
Yeah, and I don't know about it being an emergency red syrup, but yeah, it's been down all morning. Is on top of a few other things.
That's actually not a bad thing. The problem is that they took our streaming platform with it. I mean, if Facebook were to go down and not come up again, the world would probably be a better place.
I mean, at least we got a couple other ways of contacting each other for most part. But yeah, if we're starting to work.
And Pixel Supreme says for 5 Swiss franc, VHS piss poor quality. D-Theater was full HD on VHS.
It didn't look nearly as good as Blu-ray. It was decent, but it wasn't nearly as good, and they were still having a hard time getting it to where you could record in HD. Like, that was the other problem. Yeah, like there's nothing that anybody's going to be able to ever say that's going to convince me that VHS or any analog tape is better than anything digital. It's just not going to work. Just sorry.
Yeah.
I'm even one of those where, as much as I love my record collection, I still make sure I generally have a double on CD just as a backup.
Always have a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And Forbidden Ruin points out there's a big streaming problem. The 6-minute daily, Culture and Purple Valkyrie couldn't end their streams.
Oh, lovely. Well, at least I'm using OBS, so.
Yeah. They had somehow forced end their broadcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we couldn't even begin, and it was our problem here. So yeah, good times. But getting back to these classic super chats, then Then we have a Mexican Iron Man who sent us $15 saying, for Midnight's Edge IT infrastructure covered. Andre, please call SpaceX so we can launch a Midnight's Edge telecom satellite. Hail, my brothers. I tried but could not get into the show. Audio is now stable. Oh, thank you. But it appears those $15 were very well spent because things appear to be working again. And we'll see if maybe we can bribe William Shatner to take a satellite along with him when he goes up with, like, what's it called? Not SpaceX, but the other one, like that.
It's the blue something, right?
Yeah, this is the one that looks like dildo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like absolutely no pretensions held there. And then Valiant Renegade, who dropped a great video on the Venom box office earlier, so go check that out. Says for $4.99, glad to have the stream back. Have a great show, gentlemen. What a great weekend for Venom in the US and Bond elsewhere. Pandemic excuses anymore? And yeah, that's a good question. I mean, things certainly seem to have the potential to be back to Norway real quick, don't they?
Well, not just.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes no fucking sense to keep doing things the way they've been doing them. It really doesn't. I'm not even going to get into the political or the medical side of things, obviously. But I mean, as far as movies go, they can't use this excuse anymore. We basically are back to normal weekend numbers. This was a pretty...
Yeah, we are. With this is normal weekend numbers.
Yeah, this is pretty damn close to normal.
When you have both Bond and Venom in the US and the UK and Norway and maybe a couple of other markets too, actually beat non-pandemic, non-BS opening weekend records. When you have to go and have things like say oh, this movie was the biggest opening in the pandemic or for pandemic, all these hedges. No, there's no hedges. No Time to Die is the biggest Bond opener ever, period, full stop. It beat Skyfall in multiple markets.
Well, we should put a caveat to that as far as modern Bond, because, yeah, not getting into all the inflation of the classic Bonds, but as far as the modern era goes,
in
yes.
Modern history.
Yes.
Skyfall is the one Bond movie in modern history to make $1 billion at the box office, and No Time to Die opened higher than it.
And it hasn't even opened in the U.S. yet. I have to correct you. You said in the U.S., but yeah, it hasn't technically opened in the U.S. yet. Doesn't have
sorry, I meant in the UK, Norway, and a couple of other
And that's
markets.
The only thing I think that's kind of fucked up is that's going to hurt all these other films. Like Venom, yeah, it had a bigger opening than the first movie, but I don't think it's going to make as much as the first movie because I think it's going to top out around 500 or 600 because now we're going to get it. It's not even so much that we have too many movies out there. We don't have enough places that people can go see them now. They're on restrictions in a lot of areas. They can't have as many people in certain screenings and shit like that. So now they're kind of being a detriment to themselves in a way. It's,
And on top of that, Venom doesn't have a golden open co-conspirator, so to speak, to get the numbers that they needed.
Well, I mean, if it had another week or two to play without Bond to compete with, and Halloween coming up, and it actually had full capacity theaters, I bet you Venom could have broke $1 billion. But now I don't see that happening. And it's not the movie's fault, if that makes sense. It has everything to do with the restrictions.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that's why I pointed out that in Norway, all restrictions have been lifted. And as a result, it outperformed Skyfall in its opening weekend. I don't know too much about the restriction situation in the UK. The UK is reasonably open. I don't think that theaters can play at capacity, but even there, it outperformed Skyfall's opening weekend, and that's pretty stunning right there. But we'll see how it holds up, though. Professor M points out that Venom will drop 60 to 70% next week.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I mean, because yeah, it's going to have Bond to go up against, and then it's going to have Halloween right after that, and then Dune within a matter of bam, bam, bam.
Yep.
So I kind of feel bad for the movie. It doesn't deserve the fate it's going to end up getting.
Well, remember, they pushed Venom's release up ahead to avoid more.
They should have pushed it
complicated.
further.
They could have. They could have gotten away with another 2 weeks, I think.
But I bet you Disney pressured them not to. Because I don't know how the breakdown is, Andre. I'm thinking it's more 50-50 from what I remember.
I don't think so.
I will say this without getting into too much. I am pretty sure Marvel had a bit more influence over this one than they did the last one.
Yeah, that they absolutely did.
And
because they had no influence over the last one. And I actually think that may be one of the reasons why there's no decapitation in
I'm
this
pretty
one.
sure.
Because that is one of Marvel's rules. There can be no decapitation. Although Venom found a really cool way of doing it, that had to go.
Remember what I said when the first Venom came out. I said, I'm willing to bet the reason this movie is PG-13 is because Kevin Feige flat out told them, if you ever expect these two worlds to cross over, Venom cannot be rated R. That is the only reason it makes sense to me. And we know that Kevin Feige was involved with the latter process of Venom.
Yeah, he absolutely was. I mean, his notes were some really, really good ones too. That saved the movie by all accounts.
And again, this movie feels a lot like the first film, sans the fact that it had to be cut down. Like, this movie feels like it was the movie we were supposed to see, unlike the first movie. Because I can tell just from an editor's point of view that I can see how that movie was cut down from an R rating. This movie was shot as a PG-13. It was clearly intended this way, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were right about all the Sinister Six stuff and all the stuff we're hearing from Mikey Sutton and the stuff I heard. I'm pretty sure it's all coming to fruition. And I don't expect this friendship between the two of them to end anytime soon, because I think I'm right about Tom Rothman. He's just as content and happy with having Kevin Feige and Disney handle all this Spider-Man shit for him. Because I'll tell you another thing, Amy Pascal's name was very minimal. She was an executive producer and she didn't even get a fucking logo till the end.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like, okay, here's your contractual credit. Here's your contractual amount.
Exactly.
Now please go play in that corner over there while we make this movie.
Unlike the Spider-Verse and stuff where her shit was all the fuck over it. Yeah, almost non-existent here. She barely got any executive producer credit, and then way at the very, 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 very end of the credits, she got her logo. It's not at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, it was at the very, very beginning of Spider-Verse. And I think it was at the beginning of the first Venom. I'd have to double check on that, but...
And also the Spider-Man movies, that like logo is like all over the place.
Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing it there too. You're right, yeah. But it wasn't here. So
and we have a couple of other super chats I want to go through here. Joachim Stark said for 50 Swedish krona, bribe for the buffer gods. Why is that word? So thank you for the
you have appeased them. Thank you
for the offering. You appeased the buffering gods. So thank you.
And then we got one we can bring up on screen.
Also, sent us a popcorn super sticker. So
thank you.
The show can roll.
And we got one we can bring up on screen here from Rod Thunderheart. It says, "Hail Andre, Tom, and Script Doctor. While I never got around to Shang-Chi, Simu Liu's mouth didn't help my respect for him. I can't wait for Venom." Well, hopefully you enjoy it. I enjoyed it quite a bit last night, or the night before, I mean.
I can't wait for it either, because I really had so much fun with the first one. And it's like unfair. Like I've been saying like for months that this is the one Marvel movie I want to see. And this is the one I can't see for a month and a half.
Well, and here's the thing is and this is why I brought up the whole thing with like I'm not real familiar with Carnage. Like this movie could be disrespecting the character in some way. I don't know. See, and that's why I don't want to jump and say it's fucking amazeballs, because I did have a lot of fun with it. I did.
Visually, he should be much leaner and skinnier than Venom. Venom is the bulkier.
He was.
Of the
Yeah,
two.
he was. He was much taller, much skinnier, much leaner. Like as far as how they had them look, like
Wait, you said he was taller, skinnier. Like Venom was taller.
No.
And bulkier,
You were right.
Or
Venom was short and stocky compared to Carnage.
oh, then they completely messed that up. Because Carnage is supposed to, well, maybe the same height, but he's supposed to be skinny.
They're close.
Whereas Venom is bulky.
No,
And
they
there's,
got that right then. That's what I'm saying. Venom is still the bulky one. Carnage is more thinner and leaner.
Well,
Okay,
think linebacker versus basketball player.
Pretty much, kind of, yes. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be like, yeah, basically like that. Like a linebacker going up against Michael Jordan. But he's not that tall. Like, because Michael Jordan ain't even that tall. So it's not like he's up against, like, Shaquille O'Neal. Like, I mean, he's bigger. And, I mean, and he has the whole thing. Like, you've seen the scene in the trailer. He's like, that's a red one. You know, like, yeah. You don't like him. Like,
yeah, no, because the Carnage is much stronger and physically superior to Venom in every way.
Yep.
He just looks weaker because he's skinnier, whereas Venom is bulky.
Yeah, they got that right.
Yeah, okay, well that's cool. That's cool.
As far as like their look wise, I thought they looked great. I thought they looked fine. Like I said, my point is I'm not real familiar with Carnage's origin story. I mean, I know he's Cletus. I know all that kind of stuff. I know, minimalist, and I think I played the video
There's
game.
really no more to it. He's a serial killer.
As far as how he got like started and stuff.
Crazy lunatic nutcase.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know if it's a spoiler to tell how he got born or whatever you call it, but like it's pretty quick in the movie. It's like I'm like, really? That's how they're gonna do it? Because like that's where I'm curious how it really happened. Because in the movie, I don't know. I guess this ain't really much of a spoiler. It's just Eddie and him are talking, and he pisses Eddie off, and he grabs Cletus, and Cletus bites him.
That sounds.
And then he just tastes his blood, and he's like, "You're not human. I've tasted human blood before, and that is not human blood."
Okay, I approve. That sounds cool.
And then he puts his hand up against his face, and he pulls off a little piece of the blood, and then like starts doing these spores and shit on it or whatever, and he just puts it back in his mouth. So like he knows something's up or whatever. And then the next scene we see where, then after that it's kind of the birth of Carnage kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, I approve. That sounds good.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if that's how it started in the comics or not. So.
Yeah, that's close enough. Close enough. That's not exactly right, but if anything, it's even better. Like in the comics.
Well, Michael Sturlitz says it's a drop of blood, so it's pretty close to that similarity.
Yeah.
Similarly,
Yeah.
Well, it happens early enough on in the movie too, so.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't take much. Like this movie clips along. Like it does not take long to get into the story. Like and I almost thought that Michelle Williams wasn't going to be in it at first. Like that's what I'm saying. When she shows up, it's just kind of like, really, you almost kind of wrote her out of the movie already. Because that's her whole first part is Venom's giving him shit about him losing her, and he's a loser, and he keeps calling her shit like that. He's like, "You are a loser. We are the hero." You know, that kind of shit. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of great parts in it, though. I don't want to get too much into it.
Yeah. No, it sounds like fun. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to seeing it myself. And speaking of enjoying, to move on to
Worm said it's actually better than the comic origin. So there you go.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me. To me it sounded better than the comic book origin. I mean, it's not always that the comic book movie origin is like amazeballs. This is certainly true for secondary or tertiary characters. Let's be honest, that's how Carnage started out. So that change actually sounds like a change for the better, for the much better.
And I'm not familiar with the other villain character in it at all, because it reminds me of another. I was like kind of confused if it was supposed to be one of the same characters we've seen before in the Marvel universe or not. So I don't know, because I'm not sure which ones can cross over. So I was like, I have to look that part up because I'm not positive, and I don't think that character's been revealed in the trailer.
Yeah, so let's not say anything, because
it's not a major character either, though. So like that's the thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm not too sure on it. So yeah.
Another Symbiote?
No, it's Olaf. Just is it Shriek?
Oh right, yeah. No, I think I see where we're going here.
Yeah,
of course, because Sony are building their own like universe. So yeah, I see where you're going.
Yes and no. I'm pretty sure it's going to run pretty in tandem with Marvel. I would not be surprised at all. Like they do a pretty, like it's. I mean, we already heard the ending a while back from other people, but like Like, it's even a little bit more specific than you'd think. But anyhow, we'll get into that after the show, if you're curious.
Yeah. No, I'm not too curious.
I didn't think you would be.
Granmosu42 sent us a €5 super sticker, so thanks so much for that.
Thank you so much. And then Rod Thunderheart just sent us one again, too. So we got $10.
Can you get that up on screen?
From
here
Rod Thunderheart, Canadian dollars, actually. So we got to say A. Yes, Venom is more bodybuilder size. Cletus Cassidy was Eddie's cellmate when Venom symbiote who loved heavy metal. When Venom broke Eddie out, it neglected to tell Eddie it reproduced and possessed Cassidy. Yeah, none of that is in this movie.
Yeah. That was pretty lame, the comic book origin.
No. And of course, this is a different version of Eddie than what we normally... This is like that revamped version anyway, right? Like he's more of a good guy, so...
Yeah, absolutely. And listen to Natasha. Smash that like button. Get us to 500 likes, which is pretty impressive, given all the restrictions that we have had with like failing streams and all the tech issues basically.
Well, we're almost at 1,100 viewers, so be sure to also share that stream as well, so that
do that. And with that, let us move on to some other news, because Venom and Carnage appears to be something of a success then. Well, let's see if it's possible to share my screen here to bring up another story here.
It should be able to.
Because there's another movie that just filmed, and someone is happy with how it went. Ben Affleck. Fresh off of filming or reprising his Batman in The Flash.
So he is there. Good.
Yeah, he is there, and he praises the Flash filming experience after difficult Justice League shoot.
You mean the one that drove into drinking?
Yeah. This story, it comes to us from Collider, and he talks about working with Ezra Miller and running into Jason Momoa. So the story reads, Ben Affleck praised his experience playing Batman on the shooting of The Flash after a difficult time as the Dark Knight during Justice League's production. Talking to Variety, so that's where it's from, Affleck spoke about his great time filming in the UK, where he also crossed paths with Jason Momoa. And he talks about how awesome all his filmmakers or fellow casts are. Doesn't really say anything more, but point is that he had a great experience there. Joking about the secrecy surrounding The Flash, Affleck also said that he's probably under some gag order that I'm not even aware that I probably just violated, and I'm now going to be sued. Yeah, I don't think that he's going to be sued just for saying that he had a good time filming this. However, that he had a good time filming this is something that I think is pretty interesting, that it even comes out, and it goes to his motivation. If he had a good time this time, maybe it'll be easier to entice him to come back for more. And based on what we've heard from Mikey Sutton, HBO Max have been trying to entice him to come back for more.
Right, and this is right on the heels of the other latest rumor coming out that Mikey also heard besides myself, and that was that we can possibly expect the air cut of the Suicide Squad in May.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
The Snyderverse may not be completely done for yet.
Seems to be the case anyway, or at least it's looking that way. I mean, I was still questioning whether or not Affleck was going to show up in this movie. I mean, I kind of knew he was supposed to be there, but again, we hadn't heard he'd been on set or anything yet, so it's like,
well, with some of these deals with Ben Affleck and the air cut and talks with Zack Snyder, it sounds to me like Warner Brothers is using them as life support to keep these characters in the conversation against Marvel until they can either build this take of these characters up to be part of the actual franchise, or and until they either sidestep into something new with whatever the results of this Flash movie are going to provide.
Right. I mean, and again, I don't think this is the thing with this Flash movie. This is what they're banking on. I mean, we've heard so many things about this Flash movie that who knows what to believe anymore. But
I'll
The
tell
other
you
thing
this,
also
though.
too. I mean,
Sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
carry on, script.
Well, I was just going to point this out, and this is something that I've kind of known to be the habit with actors, is that if an actor is having way too much fun making the movie, it's probably not going to be a good movie, because it doesn't feel like they're actually working or focusing, or there's maybe enough criticism between the crew to get the performances out of the actors. It might be to the point where Affleck does his takes and the director says, okay, great, moving on, and Affleck's like, yes, I nailed it, as opposed to the director saying, okay, it's good enough, let's just get on to the other stuff. Because again, when you please an actor where they feel like they're having more fun and they're not working, the rest of the film kind of suffers a little bit. And the same is true on the exact opposite, where if they're miserable the entire time, then clearly they're not going to be giving the best performances they can.
Right.
This
You kinda have
time
to have
he
that
was
balance between.
explicitly comparing and contrasting
Yeah, I was just
to
gonna say
Justice
that.
League, though. And we know that was hell on earth for all involved. So I don't think he said that, oh yeah, this was super duper fun. It's the funnest production I ever had. No,
Yeah.
he said like he was explicitly comparing to Justice League, and compared
I
to
think
that,
that's the bigger thing too.
everything is a step up. At least I hope so. Of course, we'll see when the movie comes out, but I would hope.
Yeah, that's
I would
all,
hope too. Yeah.
that's all I was going to say too. Is like, yeah, I get where you're coming from, script. Like 9 times out of 10, that is true. If not 9.9 times out of 10, that is true. But the glaring example, of course, would be the mess that was the Justice League. And yeah, since he's comparing the two, I'm going to go with, yeah, honestly, I don't think there can be any worse film than what that turned out to be.
I mean, the bar is pretty,
Yeah.
is not too low, but I mean, you have this change in directors, you have grueling shooting schedule. I think you'd be considered like, yeah, one director, one script to worry about. I think that's pretty good.
The other time I can think of where the miserableness translated to the screen was The Hobbit. Because that's the one, if you remember, where Ian McKellen broke down and started crying on set.
Yeah.
Because he got sick and tired of working in front of green screens. So that's the only other time I can think of where shit broke down so bad and the movie still didn't turn out that great. Phantom Boomer sent us $5, says, I quit going to the theaters before the coof hit. The Venom movie might get me started again. I am done with Bond, though. And that's understandable, man. I was, going off.
Absolutely, to each their own. Like, I'm sure you've heard the spoilers. If you decide you don't want to support it, that's entirely your call. I'm going to convince you one way or the other.
Like I was saying before, Andre's seen it, and since I've, he kind of just fortified it. Was basically what I was saying is like it's not what they're advertising, but at the same time, there's parts of this that I'm sure are gonna not make some fans happy.
Oh yeah,
and that's understandable. And then I've seen some people say that Venom is meh, and that's what I'm saying. Your mileage will vary. I strongly believe though, if you liked the first one, you will like this one. If you didn't really care for the first one, you're probably not going to like this one that much. It's more of the same. Peter Smigelski. Peter Smigelski.
Thank
you for becoming a member
at the Viking level. So thank
Awesome.
you, and stay tuned because I think we'll be having a members live stream later this week.
We definitely will play.
My
it on
voice is
something.
getting for it. So
We're way behind on it.
We're way behind. So all members, so sorry. We'll make it up to you.
Yes.
I'm already planning my reading like an extra Ibsen special for all members.
Maybe we'll do some fun stuff for Halloween this month too. Who knows?
Well, we'll find some fun.
I'm sure we can.
Fun for you.
Maybe we can even get a hold of like Gary T and see if he can come up with something fun for us.
That would be awesome.
So yeah, we'll come up with some things. We apologize. We do have a couple of Beyond the Edges in the hopper yet and stuff like that are coming, kids. That's my fault. So we're working on it. And then Andre getting sick didn't help matters.
Yeah, that did not help matters. Me losing my voice for 2 freaking weeks here.
Yeah.
Going on 3.
So was there any other super chats that we hadn't caught up on?
I'm just going to do a quick check.
I think there might be a few.
I think we are mostly caught up,
Mostly.
But of course that's what we why I'm going to do a double check. Let's see here. We got Phantom Boomer, so yeah, we just got that one. We got Red Thunderheart. Yeah, Rob Thunder, he sent 2, right?
Yes.
Yes, then we got both of those.
We did get both of those, but did we get?
Yeah, he actually sent 3.
Did we get like dash? Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't. I don't think we got dash attacks and a few other ones yet. So go ahead, Rod Thunderheart.
Dash Attack said for $4.99. Woody Harrelson stole the freaking show. Great bad guy who doesn't give an F. Rates R-rated cut when. Also, end credit was a real shift in reality. Wink, wink. Yeah, we did get that one actually. And let's see. I think we got everyone. Yeah, we got everyone. And
Awesome.
if someone disagrees, then let me know in the chat right now. But I think we got everyone. And Tim Hayes says I sound much better. Yeah, well, thank you. It's just like I felt pretty good the whole time, but I just sounded awful, and I'm still not quite there, but slowly getting there. And to anyone wondering, no, it wasn't a coof. It was just your regular
Regular cold?
Yeah, regular cold/flu.
Well, I mean, that's better than anything more serious, of course, and
yeah,
this is the season for it. Kids are going back to school, so yeah, things are going to be flying around.
That's exactly right. And Resso205 wonders, has Andre seen Last Starfighter yet? No, not yet. And right now I'm in a binge of watching older movies, but that's because I'm writing a number of retrospectives. So I have like the script ready to go when my voice allows for it. So Tom, just brace yourself for retrospective time.
Oh lordy,
several of them.
Sometimes I don't mind them, but sometimes they are the death of me.
Yeah, I know.
And Todd Venersis, sorry if I'm Bandersis, wants to know how he joins. There should be a button right at the bottom of the chat section that says join. Now, I'm not so sure you can do that on your phone, unfortunately. So if you're on your phone,
you can do it from the. You don't even have to go into the chat. Just go into our main page, and there you can hit the join button. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
I was going to say, I think you can go that way and do it. But unfortunately, it doesn't have the chat option. So,
yeah.
But otherwise, if you're on the main chat on just the regular YouTube, there's a join button right at the bottom. And we appreciate that very much. It does help quite a bit. And we're definitely going to try and do some more here in the next couple weeks to make up for the lack of in the last month. Sorry about that. And yes, Andre must see The Last Starfighter. We're working on
I will see The Last Starfighter, but I'm not writing a retrospective on it.
No.
So I just have to see the ones I'm writing.
I could, but there really isn't much to do a retrospective on it. Right? Like
The Last Starfighter?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have like a horrid production. It was one of those movies that it did well enough, but, you know, there's been rumblings in the last few years about sequels, but it's never been a major... You know, like, it hasn't had, like, a bunch of starts and stops in the past like some of these other franchises we usually cover.
I mean, I think the documentary, the sci-fi documentary that's being done right now has got a brief interview with some of the cast and crew from the original Last Starfighter.
Yeah, they did a really great, I think, Arrow?
Search of Tomorrow, right? That's
they're probably ones doing that, but then I think it was Arrow or somebody like that just re-released it here recently. And they had a big, nice special edition of it. So, I mean, between that and some of the documentaries and stuff, and there is talks of a reboot coming, so who knows?
Along with Buck Rogers' attempt and a couple of other old sci-fi properties trying to get a revival.
Yeah, we've heard about that, so we'll see what happens with that. But I'll catch The Last Starfighter at one point here, but it's not immediate priority. I also have to see a Foundation first, because now we have 3 episodes out of it, and I haven't seen a single one of them. Have you seen it yet, Script Doctor?
I saw the pilot, and
what do you think about it?
It's very much a David S. Goyer take on the franchise.
For those who may be in doubt about what that means, can you elaborate? What does a David S. Goyer take on the franchise mean? Now, keep in mind that David S. Goyer, when working with Christopher Nolan, he did Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Yes.
When working on his own devices, he did Blade Trinity. So he's something of a hit and miss. Actually, it does. My observation is that how good he is entirely dependent upon how good the people he's working with are.
David S. Demonic Toys Goyer.
So yeah, what can you say about the Foundation and David S. Goyer isms in that?
I don't think he quite understands the material that Asimov wrote. It's a little cavalier. I mean, again, Foundation is a very dense trilogy of books from Isaac Asimov, and he tries to do a Cliff's Note approach to it, and it has some contemporary perspectives, and instead of balancing out all the characters and their goals and why the Foundation is important and what it means to the fate of the great empire, he kind of focuses it on this one character that has been changed, not entirely significantly, but enough for arbitrary reasons, I would say. And we're following them with regards to this stage of the Foundation and its creation, so to speak. And it's very weird. It is beautifully shot, and there's some really interesting visuals, and the acting is quite solid, but it just doesn't. At this stage, the pilot did not make me want to have to see the second episode. And I really enjoyed the Foundation book series. So
okay, so that's hardly a ringing endorsement.
no.
When Script Doctor, who likes the Foundation books, don't like this. That's very disheartening to hear, because it certainly looks like a very expensive production.
It definitely is a very expensive production, but it's just I don't think this approach is not what I would have taken. And some people might really love it if they're Foundation fans. I can understand that, but for me, it just felt like the story is being oddly paced, and there's time jumps for no apparent reason. And there's voiceover narration that doesn't feel in line with how Asimov does his stuff. So yeah, I see basically Goyer. I think he read the Cliff Notes or maybe watched some YouTube videos on Foundation and then just kind of did a summary.
So he didn't read the books. He just like, okay, here's the Cliff Notes.
I think there's definitely some.
Know.
Yeah, I definitely would believe.
I can do this.
Yeah, I believe 100% there's a number of writers on his team that have read the books and know the material, because there's certain elements thrown in there that makes sense. But it doesn't feel like it's a well-balanced and well-organized story interpretation or adaptation, at least at this point. That might change. Maybe by episode 3 it gets on to a better focus, but there are some parts that made me groan, some parts that I read made me think like that. There's no way that was. I don't ever remember reading that in the story. So yeah.
Well, that's very disappointing to hear. I was hoping for yes, they nailed it.
Well, the other part too is like, because again, Foundation is a very dense book, similar in detail, like for Frank Herbert's Dune to some regard. But I was hoping they would make it a bit more accessible without reducing the philosophical aspects of it. And it just felt like they were not even trying to. They're just about all the character stuff, the predictions, the whole psycho history model, like the exploration of that in the book was fantastic to read.
Yeah, that was the best part of the book.
It's summarized in basically a couple of sentences in this show.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, thank God David S. Goyer was nowhere near Dune. That's all I have to say to that.
Yeah, if he was in Dune, it'd be a 90-minute movie.
Yeah. What he is involved, though, is the Hellraiser remake, which either is being filmed or has been filmed in Serbia, of all places. which I think is pretty cool. I hope that they will take advantage of that and use the local area for all it's worth, as opposed to just using it as a passive set. Although that's probably what they're going to do. But David S. Goyer taking on Clive Barker's Hellraiser. Do you think that he's going to do that any better than he did Foundation? Or is he just going to find new and exciting ways to screw that over?
No, and no. Yes.
Yeah, probably. I mean, David S. Goyer does shine well with some of the things that Clive Barker likes to explore, but I don't think Goyer's got the understanding of what Clive Barker does with Hellraiser to really do it effectively. Because again, like it depends who's the other person that's overseeing this project with Goyer. If there's someone in there that can rein him in and utilize what he's good at and balance it out with what is needed by the story, then we'd be okay. But I don't think, because clearly that's not the case happening with Foundation. That wasn't the case happening with Blade. That hasn't been the case with, I think he worked on Terminator Dark Fate. So yeah, it depends on who else is working on this Hellraiser project with him that can say, yeah, Goyer, go nuts with all this, the crazy stuff that is done with Pinhead and all those guys in the Xenobites. And then when they get it turned in, they're like, okay, let's refine and rewrite this that it fits within the spectrum of what Hellraiser is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. And not off topic, but kind of back to a topic we were talking about before. I see a lot of people still talking about Last Starfighter in the chat. I just want to let you guys know, I just remembered now, I can't believe I didn't say it earlier. Our buddy Michael over at Retroblasting and his crew did an interview recently when we were doing Iconicon with Lance Guest and the lead actress. I got her name just escapes me now from the film. They did a really great interview, so check that out too if you're a fan of the film. That's over on Retroblasting. So yeah. Plug for
and
Michael
also Sean Carter became a member. So welcome, Sean. And same as we told all other members, we're a little bit behind, but we'll catch up very soon, including with the live stream in the next couple of days here. A members exclusive live stream, that is. And then I also saw a question. Someone wondered who has been cast as the new Pinhead. Several people wondered. We don't know. That's
yet.
Being kept under wraps. We know that it's probably a woman or someone who identifies as a woman.
Well, I'm not so much against the idea of a female Pinhead.
That's like if you've read the original book, because they're going back to the original book here. And Pinhead, as we know him in the guise of Doug Bradley, that's the movie interpretation, because Clive Barker wanted to cast his buddy Doug Bradley in the role. But that's the movie interpretation as originally written. If you've read The Hellbound Heart, which is actually a really, really thin, quick novel, or novelette even, that you'll read through in entirety in a couple of hours. So you'd think even David S. Goyer would take the time to read that. But there, Pinhead isn't a male. Instead, it's like this weird androgynous boy-girl-like thing with the intersecting cuts and everything. So yeah. So Pinhead being played by a female in the reboot is in line with the source material. There's not much else to say about that, so we'll just have to wait and see exactly what they'll do. I'm actually really curious about it myself, and again, that's something that's going to go directly to Hulu. We'll never see theaters, which is a bit disappointing in a way, but yeah, that's how it is. And White Knight says that Alex Kurtzman is a Pinhead, and yeah, I guess that there are different kinds of them, aren't there?
There are a number of variations, yes.
Yeah. So we'll see how that is. I see loads of people in the chat are not too excited about the prospect of a Hellraiser remake in the first place, let alone a Hellraiser remake starring gender bent pinheads. But we shall see what happens there. And then we got $20 from Peter Smigelski, that new member that I can't bring up on screen for some reason, but I have it here. And he says the first foundation was a series of short stories were collected and put into the first book. It wasn't until the second and third book that the books took on longer story form. Did you take that into account in looking at the first episode? Script, does that change your analysis in any way when
No,
considering that
because
the first book was short stories?
well, yeah, because the first series of the short stories were kind of like in a pulpy format, similar to how Frank Herbert started Dune, right? Because before he put that into the big tome he had, there were just short stories published.
Yeah, it was published in 5 parts originally.
Yes. I was considering that, but I don't think the execution of how the pilot was done was considering that either. I think it was trying to summarize a lot more in that, because it starts kind of in the future, then it jumps back 30 years, then jumps ahead 30 years, and it's just the one character we're focusing on to drive the narrative at this point. It's not quite balanced out, and I think we're going to be missing a lot of the more interesting aspects of it based on this point, because I don't think David S. Goyer has the means to properly balance out a multi character narrative. I don't know if he has that skill on his own. He might have that when he's working in a good team, but in this case here, they're focusing on one of the characters, and she's driving the story in some sense, at least from this pilot. And I don't think that serves what Foundation is about properly, because we are introduced to this character in the beginning of the short story, where she's going, or at least in the books, where they're going to the planet to meet everybody, and is just kind of like overwhelmed with everything. But that's not how the narrative starts in the show. It bounces around a lot, and it doesn't feel as coherent as it should have been.
Well, I look forward to seeing it for myself. Only
Yeah, I'd love to
less
hear your
so now,
take on
but
that.
yeah. And then on the Hellraiser casting, Infinity Flare says for $5 on Pinhead casting, expect Tilda Swinton. She has the market cornered when it comes to androgynous characters. You know, I think she would have been an excellent choice 20 years ago, but I think that they're going to go with someone much, much younger than her, probably.
That's unfortunate, because I think Meryl Streep could give her a run for her money, because she played a man in Hook.
Yeah, there was also that other movie. What was that called again? Was she? That wasn't Meryl Streep. Yeah, no, sorry.
No, that was someone else. That was Julia Andrews, I think, did something similar to that.
Yeah.
Or that was Glenn Close, not Meryl Streep. But Meryl Streep could play a man. Yeah, Glenn Close. That's right, Mike Cat.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see who Ruby Rose is androgynous. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they got someone like that.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
I'm not saying that that has
though,
happened, but I would not be surprised if they got someone Ruby Rose-like for that role. But yeah, we'll see, and I think that we'll probably learn before long here, because the movie, again, either it's in the final stages of filming or it has already wrapped. I'm not entirely sure which is the case of those, but it has. We should learn something relatively soon, I would hope. And with that, do we have any more stories? Is there anything else exciting? We went through the show notes there, and of course we were a little bit set back in the beginning of the stream when everything kind of wasn't working?
Not that I know of, unfortunately.
I did see that that Amblin Entertainment announced that the Dracula film, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, wraps filming, which is based on a chapter from Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, the reason this caught my eye is that it's directed by my fellow countryman André Øvredal. So he shares my name, although not surname. And he's the director of Troll Hunter, which I'm sure some of you have seen. And he is now helming a Dracula movie of sorts for Amblin Entertainment. Is this anything that you've heard anything about, Script?
No, surprisingly, this is new to me, so this is awesome because
Yeah,
this
I'll
is
see
the
if we
troll.
can-
Is this
can
the
bring it
Netflix
up
Troll
on screen
Hunter
here.
he did?
No, the Troll Hunter movie that came out like more than a decade ago at this time.
Okay, yeah, no, okay, that's the one that I would see on Netflix. So yes, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it wasn't made for Netflix, but yeah, you may see it on Netflix. That could very
Yeah.
well be.
Because I think that was mostly released primarily like that started in Norway first and then got an international.
Yes,
release,
yes,
right?
that is
Yeah,
correct.
exactly. Yep. So I know that one.
Bring the
Yeah,
story up on screen here. Let's see.
yeah, it's got
Here we go.
Yeah.
Dracula film The Last Voyage of the Demeter wraps filming, based on a chapter from Bram Stoker's Dracula. After a long time in development, Amblin Entertainment has announced the upcoming Dracula-inspired film, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, has wrapped shooting. The film has had a long and troubled past, with the original script penned in 2002. With Robert Schwenke on board, no pun intended, to direct. The project, however, found itself stranded in development hell for nearly 2 decades, with a number of different directors being brought in to helm, including Marcus Nispel, well, they punched a bullet on that one, Stefan Rusovitsky, never heard of him, David Slade, and Neil Marshall. Oh, that would be cool. In 2019, it was announced that a new version of the screenplay was written by Zach Olkewicz, and that the project was being directed by André Øvredal, the director of films such as The Autopsy of Jane Doe and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And, of course, Troll Hunter, which is the best film to date, if you ask me. Cheers to director André Øvredal and his talented cast and hardy crew on the completion of principal photography for The Last Voyage of the Demeter. So this is then from a tweet, and it will be released only in theaters on January 27th, 2023. So it is still some ways off. The Last Voyage of the Demeter is based on the Captain's Log, one of the chapters from Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula, and tells the story of the titular Demeter, a Russian schooner that was chartered to transport 24 unmarked crates from Carpathia to London. One of these crates is the coffin of the vampire Dracula, who slowly picks apart the now doomed ship's crew one by one.
Yeah.
The film follows the crew as they attempt to survive being stuck at sea with the otherworldly creature as their numbers dwindle night after night. The film will see Javier Botet stepping into the cloak of the world's most famous vampire, with the rest of the cast including Corey Hawkins, Liam Cunningham, David Mastalchian. Whoa, he really gets around.
Yeah.
Aisling Franciosi, John Briones, Stefan Kapicic, Nikolai Nikolaev, Woody Norman, Martin Furulund, and Chris Wally. The Last Voyage of Demeter is set to release in theaters, 2023. So,
Amblin,
actually,
that means it's going to be produced by either Steven Spielberg or
let's hope
Kathleen
Frank
Kennedy or Frank
Or Frank
Marshall.
Marshall.
Frank Marshall. I know that guy. I'll leave him. I'll leave him in my pocket. Don't worry.
he's still he's got some porcelain action right now. Let's leave him there. Yeah.
I'll leave him alone because Andre, I'm sure, is not a fan. He's a bit abrasive, I know.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with him per se. I just hope that they're able to do this.
Well, I'm talking about my version.
Yeah, but I have no issues with that either. But what I do have issues with is like, this is a project that sounds really, really cool. I'm digging this concept. I have read the original Dracula. It is quite the laborious read, but that chapter is the best chapter, and it is what makes for the best horror movie. And you're right, you can do a movie just set on that, but I think I would prefer a very different studio than Amblin Entertainment to make it.
Yeah, because when I think about Amblin, I think more of like family-friendly productions.
That's what I'm thinking too. I hope I'm wrong, though. Maybe they've gone away from that.
Maybe, yeah.
They've always done the only thing I don't think Amblin has ever done is an R-rated film. I'm stretching to remember. Outside of that, though,
because this could, if it's written to the same part of that chapter, and it's all about the finding of the dead, blood-drained bodies, and the mystery as to how this is happening, and it's all suspense.
Don't have to worry about blood.
Driven. It would definitely hit the broad audience spectrum that you'd want. Like, you could do a really good PG-13 version of this, because you don't need to show the violence of Dracula feasting on these people. You just have to have them missing, and it kind of have that suspense aspect to it. At the same time, you're probably going to get a lot of people comparing Alien as a parallel to this, because it is a similar situation, you know.
Yeah.
A little bit of The Thing as well. There should be some The Thing parallels.
No, I mean, I'm excited for this premise, because I agree with you. This is definitely a movie.
The premise caught my eye.
Yeah.
And the director even more so, because he really impressed me with Troll Hunter.
I gotta check that movie out again. I saw that, like a decade ago.
No, it's actually, I think it holds up incredibly well. And the guy that plays and this is the Norwegian movie, The Troll Hunter, and the guy who plays the Troll Hunter in it, his name is Otto Jespersen, and he is he's not so much a comedian as he is a comedian and a host and a performance artist. The best I would say is like, imagine a mix of Stephen Colbert back when he was good with Johnny Knoxville.
Oh, so Andy Kaufman.
Kind of like an Andy Kaufman or Peter Sellers.
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, that guy's amazeballs, and when he then showed up as the Troll Hunter himself, he completely nailed it. So genius casting from the director right there. And I would never have considered for the role, but boy, he nailed it. So anyway, if you haven't seen it, go check out Troll Hunter. Not the animated, but the live action Norwegian movie, which I understand from Script is on Netflix.
There you go.
Yeah, that's where I remember seeing it. So
yeah,
I think I've seen it there. Harry Nice Guy says, with €2, does the money of the new Bond go to MGM or Amazon? Actually, right now it's going to Universal until it hits the stateside. MGM has the United States only. And at this point, I believe it would still just be MGM, because I don't think the Amazon MGM sale has been finalized yet. They got a lot to go through before that's...
they have to... I think the courts have to get involved on the review of that first before it gets its a go. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be a while before that's finalized. And did you guys get this one from Infinity Flare here?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was away for a moment, so I don't know what you guys got or didn't get, but was there any other super chats that we may have missed?
I am checking that right now. I think that there is. Only the one that we got just now from Gaten J, who says for $5 Canadian. Let's see if we can bring that up on screen here, if that's possible. There we go. Who says thanks for the entertainment.
Well, thank you for being here and listening. We appreciate it, especially with all the technical problems we've had today.
So yeah, I'm sorry that we've been like off our game, but again, we spent like the first 20 minutes desperately trying to be able to start the stream at all, and the next 20 struggling with lagging and everything. So whatever is happening with Facebook and WhatsApp and
Instagram,
and Instagram,
yeah, Twitter's even being seemingly a little goofy now.
There seems to be some kind of spillover effect to StreamYards as well. So yeah, we've gone through what we had prepared early on. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today.
Yeah, I got to say though, I do agree with Stephen on this one. Colbert was never funny. Andre.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Andy, he was
imagine
really
someone that does the kind of the same thing as Colbert, that plays like a character, only he actually has some really good points. Which forget I said Colbert. I don't know why, because now he's
nothing like what he was.
Yeah. No, I was about to say someone from a nasty part in Germany that was associated with propaganda, but I decided I'm going to keep that to myself.
Yeah, that would be smart.
Imagine.
Like, if you want to see Colbert funny, just go watch Strangers with Candy. That's true. That's the best thing he's done.
I will say this though. This is some interesting breaking news. Today is National Taco Day.
But it's not Tuesday.
I don't care. It's National Taco Day. It should be celebrated on a day that's not Tuesday because it always gets Tuesday. It deserves another day. And today is
I'm going to have a rabbit chicken taco then.
You should. And I like Six's new icon there. That's pretty neat for Halloween.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, I wouldn't mind me a rabbit chicken taco either. I'll have it like I'll have some pork with that. I really want to eat the pork.
Side of pork.
People have been asking. I got to real quick before we do wrap this up. I've been asking. A lot of people have been asking about what's going on with the strike. And while I got you here, script, real quick, what's the overview of what is going on with the strike business right now in Hollywood?
Yeah, go through that.
Okay, so I only know a little bit about this right now because basically it's detailing the new media and the work hours and conditions that have happened over the last 2 years, and I think IATSE is perfectly justified in bringing this to the forefront, and I fully support them because without IATSE, without those guys, those crew, nothing that we write ever gets made. It's not predicated on the producers. It's not predicated on the directors. It's those guys. They're the ones that, they carry the equipment in, they set it up, they operate it. They're there for everybody. You always have to appreciate the people that are working those crews, and they don't get paid the big bucks in comparison to directors, producers, and actors. So yeah, I side with them, but basically they just want our new parameters stipulated in their working conditions and their contracts to be a bit more balanced and I would say fair to what they're doing and what's being asked of them. I wish I had more details on that. Again, the information is not coming through as rapidly on to my direction as the Writers Guild issue that occurred the year before. So that's the best I can provide at this moment. But if I do get more information, I'll be happy to pass that along.
Well, hopefully that helps some of you out there who are curious as to what is going on. And I'm sure you can look up IATSE online and find out all the information you need to know about that.
Yes, they have multiple websites for various union groups throughout. So check those out, see if they've posted anything. A lot of this stuff has been kind of ambiguous on my end, so I'm hoping there's more information on that.
And no, he did not say nude parameters 6. He said new, N-E-W.
Yes, new parameters.
Although I'm curious about these nude parameters that are going on in Hollywood, but hey.
It would be very strange to walk on set of a normal film and see all the crew there completely naked as part of the stipulation because they wanted nude parameters.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not what I would expect in American productions. No,
Yeah. So I
maybe in
think they're
some
going to strike.
European.
I think they're going
Indeed.
to strike, and I hope it, if that's the case, that it ends up allowing the people that have been kind of exploiting them to renegotiate and get something proper again. Because just like when the internet became a new medium for broadcasting content, the powers that be really wanted to hold on to all of that money and not provide it to the talent involved. And it wasn't just acting and writing; it was also the crew as well involved in making that content available, so it could be broadcast on the new medium.
There you go. So with that, was there anything else, Andre, we had to cover? I think we managed to get into everything we could.
Yeah, and with any luck, we still have Toxic Femininity scheduled for tonight, so everyone do
Yeah.
check that out.
Hopefully,
And
StreamYards will have been fixed by then.
hopefully it'll work, and if not, we will be aware ahead of time this time. So hopefully we can take the measures earlier on, rather than
Yeah.
discovering like 2 minutes past showtime. Like, let's go live. This ain't working.
Shit. Yeah, we're just sitting here. He's like, "You can go live, Tom." I'm like, "I'm trying."
It's like when I said push the button, I meant like
Now.
1 minute ago.
Or, yeah, a minute ago. Yeah, with that. Oh, I got to ask one thing though. If anybody in the chat knows, I don't know. I doubt either one of you know. But I just saw it yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to check out the story. But what's this about audio of, she who poops in beds confessing to hitting pirate guy? Is that the old video or old audio that came out, or is this new audio? Does anybody know?
Hasn't she admitted that already?
Yeah, that's what I was curious. Was it the old audio again, and people are just finally writing about it, or is there new audio?
I don't know, but if there's new audio, I mean, it's nothing revolutionary because
No,
she's
but-
admitted that many times before.
But what's revolutionary is it's the American papers that are picking up on it.
That is revolutionary.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, that
is,
case is coming stateside now, isn't it?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. While we're talking about she who
And I brought it up
poops in
because
pirates'
Sailor
bed.
Sonic brought up Tug in the chat. Yeah, so like that's
Yeah.
where I was curious about that. I didn't get a chance to check out any of this
Correct.
stuff.
Many in Hollywood, they have been really gung-ho on her side because you have to be. But some of those that have been more supportive of her beyond words, but in action and in money, is Walter Hamada and Ann Sarnoff of Warner and DC Films Operation. Because when there were repeated calls to replace her in Aquaman 2, they decided, no, she's stunning and brave. So, of course, we're not going to replace her. We replaced Pirate Guy from that other thing, but here, we're keeping her. Not only that, we're giving her her own spin-off later on. And
Haven't heard
now,
nothing about that recently.
we haven't heard anything about that recently, but what we have heard is every single time they post anything from like the official social media pertaining to her in any way, or even just reference Aquaman 2, they get ratioed to oblivion. Are people in Warner, do you think they're starting to realize that we may have done a mistake here filming this movie with this individual? This may be bad press, especially now when the tide appears to be turning, when you have like whether it's a new recording or it's the same one making the rounds, when you now have the American media picking up on the fact that everything that she accused him of, she was herself guilty of the whole time. This is something that has happened other times outside of that context as well, but leaving that aside, just here, do you think that people in Warner are starting to worry?
I think that people, well, to quote another YouTuber who is a fellow Canadian of mine, what we're seeing here is confession through projection. So that's what this particular woman has been doing. And I don't know how long it's going to take for the people at Warner Brothers to pick up on what that is, what that means, and if they've indeed realized that they've made a mistake and are willing to admit making a mistake. Because that's something that doesn't happen often in in Hollywood is people admitting to making a mistake.
I don't think that they're going to admit any mistake, but they've made the mistake, and it's going to be more and more visible that they did make a mistake, I think, as the release comes closer.
I think that's going to be the case. I think there's going to be, I don't know how significant of the backlash it will be, but I think they'll feel a dent in what's going to be in the Aquaman 2. I think they're going to feel it. They're going to try and ignore it as much as they can, but I think it's going to at least shake a couple of people out of their zombification of what she has done to them.
Well, I got something fun here. This is from some fashion show in Paris this weekend. She got booed.
Is that a boo or a woo?
Boos.
Yep.
We don't believe you! Abuser!
You're the abuser. Is it? Yeah. I'll play it again.
We don't believe you! Abuser! Abuser!
So there you go, kids.
That's the tide turning right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I was curious if maybe this story finally came out, if it was new audio. That was what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So,
On that note, Tom,
Yeah.
to commemorate what she did.
Oh, did I not show the video?
No, you didn't.
No, you.
Okay.
I mean, like we
It
have
may
some
not have gone
T-shirts, don't
through.
we?
Yeah.
The what? Sorry, I didn't hear you, Andre.
Yeah, I think we have some T-shirts, don't we? to
We do,
commemorate
and
what
we're
she
working
did.
on more than just T-shirts, but we'll get back to that soon. You and I got to have that reminds me, we got to have a meeting with our T-shirt guys. Don't let me forget.
Yeah, I saw.
We got to do
have
that sooner than later. Yes.
But yeah, they need to shape up.
Well, that's not what I. Well, there's that problem, but that's not all their problem. That's
Well, at least they're shipping, but
yeah, that's just because of the coup right now. They can't get anything out of the country. No, but we got to talk to them about the other thing we talked about, because they said that they can do that. So
Oh, they can. Oh,
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Amazing. To be clear, we're really happy with our T-shirt, guys. It's just like shipping is difficult this day and age to some locations.
yeah, anybody who's and I apologize because I know Natasha had an issue with it, and I'm not gonna, other people have had issues with it. If you're out of the U.S. and you're having issues, just get a hold of me. If not, and I'll do my best to help you out. It just with everything right now with the way it is.
But still, we do have.
Otherwise,
some,
they're really,
some
really good
nice
usually
shirts.
on their
Tom,
shipping.
can you bring these particular shirts up? The ones that we have
I
made
think
in
so.
honor of.
Since
we
I
can't
did
even say her
Skeletor, I
name.
can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. And actually, they look better than this mock-up here because Mandy has one, and hers looks great. And I think Cameron also has one too. So
Yeah, they're super comfortable, and this is what you want to wear when you go to see Aquaman 2.
no, actually, in the U.S., from my experience and from others, as far as I know, they have pretty good shipping. So like, I've gotten my shirts pretty darn quick. When
Yeah.
I've ordered them. So
Yeah, no, it's just outside the US and everything is difficult when it comes to shipping outside of the US.
yeah,
So,
even I've heard Az has
Looks
had a
like
lot of
them.
trouble lately. Like, there's been people trying to send him stuff and he ain't been able to get it. And yeah, it's just been pain with all this stuff going on right now.
Freakadelic sent me a PayPal message, so I'm going to
let's
go
check it out.
log into that and check that out.
While you're waiting for that, well,
Yeah.
who got booed? JetSpark. That would have been.
No, we cannot say the name, but
You may have heard of her.
Yeah, you may have heard of her.
Mira.
You may have heard of
Yeah.
her in conjunction with what she accused Pirate Guy of having done to her.
Exactly. So yeah, that's all we're gonna say on that one. And yes, Facebook has been down all morning. YouTube has been having issues. StreamYard was having issues. I don't know if they're working now yet. But we're actually using an alternative method to broadcast to you guys today. So we appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you get to that yet, Andre? Or?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm still working on logging in.
Well, while we're
here,
waiting
and
for
it's,
Andre,
give me another minute here.
What?
How about this?
I finally have it! The one thing to defeat He-Man! I stole it from J.J. Abrams. It's a mystery box!
But what'll it do?
I don't know, it's a mystery box!
What's inside?
I don't know! It's a mystery!
All right, did you get to it now, Andre?
Yes, I did. Freakadelic, he sent us a donation on PayPal, and for approximately $5. So thank you so much. He says, the next 007's first film ought to end with him beating the bad guy, but not in a way that stops his plan, as it played upon imperialist geopolitical activities of nations, Britain included. So the bad guy ultimately wins, and his plan causes World War III or Cold War II to happen. And the aftermath of that is what the new 007 is in the midst of for his tenure. I'd justify where there needs to be spies, or no, it would justify why there needs to be spies, a question posed in Skyfall and Spectre. It can also serve as a cautionary tale about the failings of imperialist geopolitics. That's a pretty decent idea, actually. I wouldn't mind them doing that.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then Eric Wung Madsen sends in 20 Danish kroner, correct?
That is correct.
Says Mads Mikkelsen is ready for the Mara part. Yeah, no shit, that fucking scab. Oh. And then IRA Tartaki says, no, don't open that Skeletor.
The only thing inside is disappointment.
Exactly. Speaking of David Goyer, we almost got that fucking He-Man movie out of him. Hopefully he's long gone. Ugh.
Well, He-Man is so messed up now anyway, so yeah, who knows what they're going to plan instead.
Yeah. But here we go. Somebody asked how much Dune has made so far in the chat. I saw that. I can't see it. I can't.
100 million.
Yeah, I was
it's
just
made
gonna say,
100 million from the
limited markets.
comparatively very few markets that it has opened in, and that can only be said to be a massive, massive success.
Yeah. And with that, then I think we are caught up.
We are.
We have one with Kai MFS.
Did we get that one? Oh, we didn't get that one yet? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Says spies predate imperialism, always been a thing, for $3.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Kai. We appreciate that. This is true.
Absolutely. Yeah, you always need spice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? So yes, thank you everybody for being here today. We appreciate you guys putting up with all our technical difficulties.
Thank you for your patience, we can say. Yeah.
And with that, then I believe it is time for some soaking marsupials. If I can find the button. Anywhere. Jesus.
They're not people, they're hippies.
I know, they're marsupials.
Koalas in the rain.
Thanks, kids.
No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.